afternoon, everyone. Today's forum is going to talk about the third national car. Is it relevant or not to the Malaysian? So recently, our Prime Minister Tun Mahathir has pushed out to proceed with the third national car. However, it has a drawback from the public, as we currently have two other national car, which is Proton and Pro2. So people question how this third national car project will be a benefit of our country. So Pro2 has focused on the low-end model, while the Proton has focused on high-end and middle-class model. However, for the third national car project, it more focused on the electrical and hybrid. So the first model, which is expected to be released on 2021, will be using the hybrid model. So today we're gonna talk about how relevant is the third national car to our country. So with Zain, we're gonna talk about the benefits, and Haika will talk about the drawback of the project. So I'm gonna pass to Zain to talk about the benefits.
Alright. Thank you, Moderator Hazman. Now, firstly, I'll talk about the first benefit in reality to Malaysia, the fact that this third national car project is actually creating a job market. Now, let me remind you, the current status of our graduates backing from STEM fields are not actually having work. Unemployment rates are really high for the STEM graduates. Now, what does the third national car project will do? Firstly, it is backing on the science part of an automotive industry, hybrid and electric cars, meaning that we require those from the STEM graduates to start pushing the engineering, the theories on creating what is hybrid and electric cars. Therefore, creating a job scope for them, job market for them to work with. Therefore, they won't be unemployed. That's the first target of creating a new job market. This car project is doing that. Considering that Malaysia itself are now having this problematic issue of graduates not having work, by solving the situation, especially on the high unemployment rates on STEM graduates, we are still solving the problem by creating the third national car. Secondly, we are actually seeing the new market trends across the world. The automotive industry itself are now pushing towards hybrid and electric cars. These two critical movements started by Tesla in the United States, where they managed to push conventional electric cars forward. However, it also backdated again with Toyota, who created the first conventional hybrid car back in 2008, if I'm not mistaken, with the Toyota Prius series. These cars itself showed that the automotive industry right now are evolving to a new market, pushing away from using non-renewable energies such as gasoline, petrol, and diesel, and solving the issues regarding of shortage of fossil fuels. Therefore, the market is moving forward with hybrid and electric cars. Therefore, that market itself are right now in a growing phase, meaning right now we have the capacity, we have the opportunity itself to penetrate it. Now, regarding to the market itself, I'm talking about investors' interest. What Malaysia sees is that we need foreign direct investments. What our own capacity itself, currently our growth domestic product, GDP, is on services. Manufacturing isn't that much. Pushing this car project might do so, considering for a fact that the market is now asking for more hybrids, asking for more electric cars. We are giving them, we are giving the demand with the supply, pushing forward with this third national car project. In the long term, in considering the short term as proposed by our Prime Minister and those behind the project of the third national car, believe that we need to start with hybrid because of the fact that electric cars are not actually that matured yet for a conventional use as compared to what Tesla did. And Tesla's own usage of technology is their own intellectual product, and we are creating our own. So that takes time with research and development. So this itself shows to you the fact that investors are actually interested with this growing market. They can see that it's going to move forward away from the traditional gasoline of automotive industry. Therefore, they are pushing money, they are pushing capital to anyone who has the capacity, who has the capability to make a car brand backing on hybrid and electric. Now finally, regarding to the market itself, let me remind you, it is a new market. It is a growing market. How old it is? Let me remind you, Toyota Prius from 2008 was the first conventional hybrid car, meaning it's been 11 years. As of now, the market has been existing and it's still growing, haven't matured yet. How can we know so? Automotive industry have not evolved fully to hybrid and electric. They are right now 50-50, 50 gasoline and 50 electric slash hybrid, meaning that they are not actually that capable to push the new market because they have their own technology, their own intellectual products on the gasoline industry. So they cannot push it forward that easily. If they push that heavily, the major brands like Porsche, like BMW, Daimler-Benz and Volvo, they have to downsize their old traditional gasoline technology to push forward for hybrid and electric, as we've seen from Volvo itself. Let me remind you again, Volvo is also owned by Geely, who actually owns Proton. Now, let's not go deeper on that part. Let's just say that the automotive industry, like Volvo itself, realized the capacity, the powerful behind the movement of hybrid and electric itself is actually evolving the automotive industry, meaning the new market right now is pretty easy to enter. Anyone with the capacity and the capability, provided with guarantor by the Malaysian government, hopefully, even though it's not publicly funded, it's privately funded, but if the government guarantees itself, and with the proper management team, penetrating it is one thing, successfully evolving the industry is another. Therefore, the third national car project, I believe fully, to the dot, to the period, that if we've done it correctly, properly, and efficiently, third national car project will be a successful car project, succeeding away from what Proton and Prodo have done. Now, with that, that's only what benefits I see, and what the benefits shown in the long term, a little bit in the short term, of what the third national car project can bring to Malaysia. With that, I thank you.
Well, that's all from Mr. Zain. Every benefit will come up with drawback. So, it's Haikal's turn to talk about the drawback of the project.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator Hazman. So, regarding the third national car project in Malaysia, I have some concerns about the project actually. The first is the facilities, in terms of facilities. To have electric cars means to have electric stations to charge the cars. And this actually won't be such an issue for big cities like Kuala Lumpur and the Klang Valley actually. But my concern is the areas, mostly in rural areas, the villagers. Because for big cities, they have the capacity, the land, the resources to fully have sufficient electric stations. However, in rural areas, mostly, even currently, we can see that some areas they don't have sufficient gas station. So, what about let alone the problem is if gas station is also insufficient in some areas, how can the electric stations, which will be very costly for Malaysia to build, can be successfully implemented, especially those in rural areas? Because even though daily, maybe most of the electric users will be in the big cities, there will be times when they will need to go back home for holidays or certain occasions, where these electric stations will be needed. So if the government cannot provide the sufficient facilities for these electric cars, then it will lead to major problems regarding the users itself. Secondly is regarding the cost. We know that Malaysia is not a developed country. It is a developing country. And most of the people are not from high income. Most of us are from average. So when purchasing a car, most Malaysians, they take the price very seriously. The price is usually the first thing that they will consider when purchasing a car. Currently, we can see in the market, in the Malaysian market, most of hybrid cars, actually all of hybrid cars, are more than 100,000 ringgit. So, let alone electric cars, which is more expensive than hybrid cars. So, if the government cannot develop cars that will sell lower than 100,000, which is the common threshold for Malaysian citizen when differentiating expensive and cheap car, it will lead also to a big problem in terms of the sales of the car, since the third project will be mainly focused on hybrid and electric cars only. So if the first model cannot be sold cannot meet its target, then it will surely lead to a lower reputation, and it will bring bad views to the society itself. They will think that the project will be unsuccessful due to its inability to sell to the citizen. So that is also one of the main things that the government should look into before proceeding with this project, the cost. And last but not least, we know that in Malaysia we already have Pro2 and Proton. See that Pro2 and Proton, they are developing, they are doing well. There's no problem with it. But currently they are not at the peak of their potential still. There are still more developments and more research to be done in Pro2 and Proton itself for it to be competing with the leading brands in the world, such as BMW, Audi, Hyundai, and so on. So to have another national car right now in the near future would raise some concerns, since especially in how they will be able to manage their resources and capacity between the three instead of the two which are already doing well right now. Let's say that the third project will go unsuccessful, then it might also bring down the currently two brands which are Pro2 and Proton, which will bring down the economy of Malaysia in the future. So these are the three things that I mainly have concerns with the project, and that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, that's the possible problem with the project have been presented just now by the Haikal. So any replies from you, Mr. Zin?
I would like to go in depth on the cost structure behind the project itself. Yes, it is very expensive. It is undeniable, shown by itself from Tesla's own progress back then when they're trying to produce the first model, Tesla Model S. But let me remind you, Tesla is actually getting cheaper now. The cheaper approach, the reduction of cost itself, is due to the fact that the project that they've been doing are actually getting lower and lower in cost in total, because the project that they've done since the beginning of Tesla are spread out throughout the years, where initially they have to inject so much capital to cover the initial cost of starting up everything from scratch. But later on, they can reuse what they've learned and what they've developed to a newer products with a little bit of adjustment for better in terms of technology itself. In the end, with economies of scale considered, cost is not something that is a matter of concern in the long term. However, I believe that in the short term it will be a drawback, which I have to say it's something that the team management behind the project itself have to realize, that the fact is they must be managed properly, efficiently and effectively in order to proceed with the project and be successful out of it. Secondly, on the infrastructure itself, on how to support the electric car movement. Again, in the long term, it is viable. However, in the short term itself, considering the rural areas itself does not have the capacity to even fill up gasoline easily, it is a matter of concern in those of the areas, considering the capacity and the capability of electric cars in short ranges nowadays. Therefore, what I believe, in the short term, it is significant. In the long term, with the development and the progress of the technology behind the electric cars, in the end, it shows to you that it is viable, that it becomes similarly to gasoline. In the end, it does not require that much of change. It's just a matter of putting a power plug beside the normal gasoline fill-up stations. It's simply how it is. It might go a bit deeper than that. However, it is as simple as that in the long term. In the short term, it won't be. Therefore, I believe that we cannot consider everything that the drawbacks that are presented by panelist Haikal is everything and a little bit on the long term, but mostly it's on short term concerns, which is very, very true considering how we, the Malaysian people, are reflecting on the matter at hand. We never seen the long term because of the fact we are now in economic recession. We don't see anything progressing forward due to the fact that we are actually facing downturn. Therefore, while I respect the concerns presented by panelist Haikal, which I do believe it is a matter of concern to be considered behind the third national car project, which in the end, everything must be done properly, effective and efficient, as the government hand responsible for the matter at hand, as they're the one actually the first hand pushing the initiative to the public. Therefore, that's all my replies on the panelist Haikal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zain. So, now we end our session. So, in my opinion, the project itself can be success in long term, but there is a few drawback in short term that the government should consider. So, in order to success the project itself, government must carefully plan their project well. They are considering all the short-term benefit, short-term drawbacks, and problem with the public, and maybe can provide more information on the project itself to be communicate with the public, so that they can change their mind to give a more positive towards the project. So that's all for us. Thank you for listening.